They don't call Super Tuesday for nothing.
Super Tuesday was 14 different states voting with a third of the delegates at stake. It was the biggest moment for the presidential campaign so far.
And we're told, well, when you got to Super Tuesday, it'd be over. Well, it may be over for the other guy.
Joe Biden was by far the biggest winner of Super Tuesday. He won 10 of the 14 states. Bernie Sanders did end up carrying California, it looks like, but Biden's strength was widespread. He swept the South. He won in New England. He won in the upper Midwest. He even won Texas. All of this was unexpected just days earlier.
We can project that Joe Biden will win North Carolina with 110 delegates at stake.
I think one of the remarkable things is that Biden, he didn't have field offices in a lot of these states. He didn't have TV advertisements in a lot of the states. He hadn't visited most of these states, and yet he won, and he won decisively in states like Massachusetts and Minnesota and Alabama and Arkansas, and he was winning in all these states that he hadn't really invested in typical ways that we measure political strength. And that's what makes the victory all the more shocking, is he beat candidates who were better financed, who had better field offices and field operations, and sort of really benefited from the rapid shift in the dynamics of the race, as long as he could prove that he was a winner, as he did in South Carolina, as opposed to a loser the way he was in the first couple of states.
This community wants to hear from you.
The Clyburn endorsement was essential.
I want the public to know that I'm voting for Joe Biden.
Exit polls showed that 50% of voters in South Carolina were looking toward the Clyburn endorsement, and so that had a huge impact on South Carolina. But the margin of victory for Biden in South Carolina was even bigger than Clyburn or anybody in Joe Biden's campaign had expected. He just trounced the field, really, largely on the backs of African American voters who finally had a major say in the race and stuck with Joe Biden. And that sort of changed everything for the next couple of days. It was that like sort of rapid fire of those last couple of days where late deciders broke for him in major ways. I think clearing the field of the other moderates in the race certainly helped too.
Joe Biden.
The drama of Amy Klobuchar and Pete Buttigieg both flying to Dallas to endorse Joe Biden on Monday night, the eve of Super Tuesday, was a pretty major moment for the campaign. Beto O'Rourke, a former candidate, also joined them. So they staged this sort of massive event that evening, which created a news media frenzy. They didn't have a lot of money to run TV ads, but all of the major networks were covering Joe Biden and these major endorsements that he was getting, which were sort of the last images that voters saw before they went to the polls the next morning. It's one of the biggest sort of political shifts in modern history. He won South Carolina decisively, and that catapulted him within a couple of days into a totally different race than it was a few days earlier. We learned that Joe Biden is starting to build a pretty powerful coalition. African American voters have always sort of been strongly leaning toward Joe Biden, but he's also winning in the suburbs throughout the country. He's winning white working class voters. It's sort of a broader coalition than he had, particularly the first couple of states where he was coming in fourth and fifth place. Now he's suddenly been able to build a broad coalition that really threatens Bernie Sanders, I think, going forward. Because it's broad-based, it's new voters, it's a historic turnout, and Joe Biden is benefiting from that.